Hi, everybody. Welcome to the swamp. Got the lovely Linda G with me that I managed to lasso at the last minute earlier this week to come in on my day off. I had a rare day off that I was home during the day. So, and I know it's easier for Linda to do daytime, whereas I normally do nighttime and weekends. So,
Yes.
we don't get together very often, although I keep getting asked, well, when are you doing another show with Linda?
Oh, that's so
I'm like,
sweet.
as soon as I get a day off and she's not busy and,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
coordinate. But so everybody seems to enjoy it. So I'm glad to have you. I saw you on earlier with the
Annette?
other lady, Annette, was that her name? I
Annette.
caught like the last 10 minutes of the show. I've been on the road all morning and um, I had finally got in the car to come home and I saw that y'all were on live. I'm, oh crap, I missed it. And but
She's
you were
she's
on for
really
like about, yeah, she seemed
fun.
really cool. So and and I know you got Trish James coming back on the cards for the cards.
Yeah, we haven't decided. I had her on, but we haven't decided.
Right.
She said she's open for it.
Okay, good deal. I know she's coming back on with Marina.
Okay.
Not sure when. And I've
She
just been
is
so
such
busy.
a
I've
lovely
been meaning
person.
to email her myself and ask her if she'd come on my channel too, but
She's such a lovely person.
I know I really like her and I love her
It's just
cards.
so cool.
And I'm working on getting Andrew Nikki, Mel's friend, the
Yes, he's a
skincare
doll.
guy.
You use the
Um,
skincare?
hmm
Yeah, your skin looks good.
absolutely. And I was having problems with really dark age spots coming out on my cheeks.
Yeah.
And I started using it. And about a week and a half into using it, I noticed one morning when I went to put on makeup, the spot was like really faded out. I was like, where did it
Which
go?
one is that? Which
Whoa.
particular lotion
I
is
was
that?
just using the daytime and the age booster in the daytime. And
I
then I
got that.
went and looked on the website and I saw that they have a dark spot remover serum, but it's been on back order.
Okay.
And then of course I talked about it and he sent me a second set of a second starter pack to go with. I guess Mel told him which ones I was using. And then he sent me an email and said, look, we've gotten lots of customers that are saying it's because you were talking about it that they came and
Yeah.
signed on. And
Yeah.
he was like, whatever you want, you just say the word, I'll send it to you.
Isn't
Don't
that
worry about it. He
he's
said,
so
as soon as I get the dark spot remover, I'm sending it to you. And so I was like, well, thank you. He's so sweet. And so I said, well, I've got a friend in Canada that wants to try it. She would probably bring you a Canadian audience. So he's sending Marina something.
oh, fantastic.
I gave him Marina's name and address, and he's like, "Oh, absolutely." So she can't wait. She's ready for
It should
for it
be
to
a good
show up. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then I got a friend in New Zealand that wants it too, but they don't sell over there yet. So I was
Okay.
like, "You're gonna have to wait." Like I
Do
can't
they
afford to
sell in
send that to you.
Australia or do you know?
I don't. I don't know if they do Australia or not. I'd have to go look at the website. I think they're just doing U.S. and Canada right now.
Okay.
Maybe Mexico.
Well,
I'm not
actually,
positive.
oh, okay, yeah. I'm thinking Trish James is in Australia. She got
Yeah.
nothing to do with the facial stuff.
Well, I know I've had some people fuss at me. Why are you hawking that? I was like, I'm not hawking it. I'm just talking about it because it works. It's very inexpensive compared to what I've paid for in the past for skincare. I'm actually getting results from it.
I know, and we paid
That
top dollar for some of that stuff, and it didn't even work. I
exactly.
paid $360 for a little short vial of something from my plastic surgeon's office. Not the one that did my face, but the other one that does my Botox. And $360. I didn't notice nothing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's what I mean, most of what I use is drugstore stuff. I can't afford the doctor's office stuff, but even that, I
Even
mean,
if you
you
have to pay
buy
for
a
this,
day and a night and a wrinkle and a this and a that, $500 right there before you know it.
but even his stuff is reasonably priced, even if you had to
Very
buy
much
it.
so. Yeah, very much so. So I brag about it every chance I get. I said, I don't get paid for it. I don't, you know, don't get anything for it. I like it. It works. So I'm telling everybody about it, just like anybody else would do if they were using it. So,
Right.
but he's a very nice man. I like him. And I
Yeah.
saw him on with you and Mel.
Yeah, it was nice getting to meet him.
Yeah. So, and then
But his
the
business
last,
is booming thanks to Mel opening that door and getting everybody else involved.
yeah,
He took my
absolutely.
daughter on and my sister. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, exactly. And, the last email I got from him, and I emailed him back, I said, "You wouldn't consider doing another channel show, would you?" I said, "I know you were on with Linda and Mel, but I would love to have you come on." He's like, "Absolutely, just say the
Isn't that
word." So
great? Isn't that
I'm
great?
like, "Oh God, you're so sweet."
Yeah, he is so sweet.
And but anyhow, well, let's get to some questions. I
Let's get some
posted
questions,
on the
girlfriend.
community page for questions for Linda and me for political stuff. And wow, did they respond?
That's wonderful.
I'm not used to getting that many responses from a post I put up.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. First one up is, are the Federalist Society, the GOP, and the big donors for the GOP concerned about the size of the No Kings protest? I
Oh,
heard final count that it was 13 point something million
yeah,
people showed up.
absolutely. And if you'll notice, Trump is in a really bad mood. First
Oh
of all,
yeah.
mad at who's that female gorilla with the one piece? What's her
Yeah,
name?
puppy killer.
Because she doesn't think Iran is. Well, she doesn't think Iran is has nukes, which they don't. If they did, they would be blasting them right now. And then he's mad at Hedgehog Pete.
I
He's mad
saw
at him
that.
that everybody's laughing about that parade, and he's
Yeah.
blaming. This guy didn't know nothing. This is a Fox News host. He didn't know nothing from nothing, but he's
That
focused on him
I
now.
keep seeing the clip of that squeaky tank rolling down the street. And every time I see it, I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. I can't quite get there, but it's close. It's like,
Yeah,
poor baby. And Miss Melanoma looked like she was tickled to death over all of it, that it was such a flop.
yeah, and also, do you remember a cartoon years ago? There was a cartoon like, it wasn't Disney. It was Walt. It wasn't, Donald Duck kind of energy. And they said, "Here comes the such and such tank." It had all these military men looking through there.
Yeah.
Here comes the such and such tank, trailing with a such and such fighter, blah blah blah, guns, and then it said, "And here comes a jeep." I thought that was so funny. We used to get.
I think I've seen that one. It sounds familiar.
It was a
I used to
cartoon.
watch cartoons all the time when I was
I
a kid, and
love those
then
Daffy
when
Duck.
my son was a kid, I watched it again.
I watched it with my two babies because I grew up with all those cartoons. Well, grew them up with all those cartoons. But also, girl, the word is he's mad at, and some other psychic just announced it, and it's true. He's mad at Steve Miller.
Oh yeah, I didn't
What's
think I'd
that
ever see
about?
that day. I don't know, but I don't know what's happening between them, because Miller tends to be, he's Rasputin. He's back in the background whispering in his ear, and evidently he's whispered something that Donald's not very happy about.
Well, let me tell you something. This is my hit. I could be wrong. But remember when he said we're going to stop with the people on the farms? There's a lot of farmers that had people been with them 20 years. We got to stop taking them in. Stop with some of the leisure things, restaurants, hotels. We're going to stop that. And he no sooner announced that, and the White House, not Trump, said, "No, never mind. We're still going to take them all." That was Miller. I told everybody.
You saw what happened at Dodger Stadium, right?
Ooh, I love
They
it.
showed up. I showed up at Dodger Stadium, and it was like everybody that worked there all lined the front of the entranceway.
And the
And like
police
they're
came
like,
in and
no,
escorted them out.
yeah. They called the regular police to come in and take them out. And it's like, no, you can't come in. It's like,
Yeah.
you go Dodgers, man. I was never a Dodgers fan before now, but
I'm a
now I'm like,
Dodgers fan now.
go Dodgers. I mean,
But
we were always Atlanta Braves fans in my house. So.
but the Miller is very interesting. The Miller part, geez, I hope he gets rid of them. He's Satan's spawn. He is not
Like
a
I
good.
said,
He
Rasputin
always
was
whispered
here.
in Trump's ear. He
Yeah.
was the one running. I'm sure Miller doesn't know what to do. And he might have pushed him too far in Elon because he doesn't like Elon for obvious reasons. And I don't know what happened there, but Trump's still not accepting Elon's phone calls.
No, that's what I heard. That he's still furious. So I don't know if it was something that Elon said or did, or if it's something that Miller's been whispering, saying that he said or did such and such. And so it's like completely broke. But I know there were several folks I saw a couple months ago that were like, that's not going to last long.
And also
because they're two big egos that are just,
Yeah.
Knocking heads. So.
And we don't know, his wife went into the arms of Elon. We don't know what the wife told Elon. And Elon may have told people, apparently he says these things to the wife, so you should let Trump know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because Trump doesn't like people talking trash behind his back.
Exactly. And he doesn't like to be humiliated, which is what happened up in Canada yesterday and the day before.
Oh,
it's like, oh my God.
Was that fantastic or what?
I mean, I know Prime Minister Modi was furious at him. Zelensky was pissed. The Mexican president, Scheinbaum, was really pissed off. And what's the Canadian premier's name? I'm going blank on it. No, Trudeau retired. My brother's giving me hints over here.
Yeah. He's a new guy.
He's the new guy, and I want to say it begins with a G, and I can't think of his name.
He had to interrupt Trump's speech while he was up there lying, saying that the reason Putin could no longer be there is because Trudeau interfered and got him out of there in 2014. Well, Trudeau wasn't even the prime minister then.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know that he got really upset because he literally shut down the press conference and said, "No, we're done."
Yeah.
He's like, we're not going to tolerate this.
Lying to everybody. Yep.
So, God, that's going to drive me crazy now. I can't think of his name. There'll be like 100 damn messages after I post the show, everybody telling me his name. I don't see it.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, he's the new Canadian. Begins with
Canadian
a G.
Prime Minister. It is. They're searching the web. Mark Carney.
Carney. It's a C, not a G. Okay, I was close.
Mark Carney.
Just an extra little mark on the letter there.
And they were going to. I guess Zelensky was coming. Zelensky hadn't arrived yet. But didn't you love it that Zelensky took the place that Trump would have sat?
Yeah, he took a seat. Would not surprise me if he doesn't become a permanent member. And I get a real strong feeling that that's going to happen. So,
but that frickin' Putin is still hurting civilians.
He can't stop.
He's hurting children. He's just a horrible man.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't think Trump will send the bomb. I think he's afraid of Putin. Putin said, "Don't you dare."
Yeah, it's gotten to where it's like a lot of empty threats.
Yeah. Kim Jong-un. Every time Kim Jong-un turned around, he was threatening nukes.
Yeah. It's like, okay, enough. Just enough. I know, let me see, what are some other questions? I know that the Federal Appeals Court here in Louisiana, this came out today. Where's that article at? That they ruled that the 10 Commandments law in our schools, our public schools, were unconstitutional
They are.
and should be removed. Well, yeah, we knew that, but nobody else wanted to see that. But evidently, the federal court for Louisiana came back and said, no, out. It's against the Constitution. So that's a plus. Of course,
Yeah.
it's just make our governor get pissed and lash out at something else, because
I know, but there's all kinds of religious. You can't do that. And here in Louisiana, is that where Mike Johnson comes from?
Yep, he's from North Louisiana.
Your state has some of the worst education, the worst poverty.
Oh yeah, we've been in the toilet for a long time. I mean, it's hard to bring in high-tech jobs and big companies because the minute they look at the state, they're like, well, where am I going to send my kids to school? I either have to make do with a subpar public education system or pay an astronomical amount for a religious school of a religion that I don't believe in.
Yeah.
Because it's still predominantly Catholic down here. As opposed to most other states. I mean, we still have parishes, not counties, because that's how they named it because of the church. Right. And but I know I read something this morning, maybe I heard it, something about Pope Leo has sent out a declaration to all of the American priests to make a point of being there to protect immigrants when they're going to court and that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah. Was that you that said it? Okay, I knew I heard it earlier in the car, and I don't remember who I was listening to.
Rough up a Padre. They're going to have some big trouble.
Yeah, because I mean, the Catholic Church used to be one of the staunchest defenders of equal rights and all that stuff. I mean, civil rights and everything. They were right there on the front lines with Dr. King and everybody else. And not anymore. Now you're going to make me yawn. Sorry. It's okay. You've been busy today.
I've been busy. I did readings this morning, the free readings that were due. And
oh, yeah.
So, yeah, the religious thing is going to be a nothing burger. All of this will be a nothing burger because I don't see him lasting much longer.
See, I don't either. I don't even, when I look at Christmas, when I go forward, because I'm still kind of learning how to go forward in time to kind of figure out what I'm going to see.
Myself.
It just takes time. And everybody keeps telling me it just takes practice. Just go with it. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And when I go like forward to Christmas, I don't see him at all. Wow. I don't see any of them. I don't see him. I don't see Vance. I don't see Miller. I don't see any of them. I'm like, well, who the hell's going to be there if they're all gone? Yeah. But I don't see that, So it's like nobody's filling in the blanks for me. But
for something that big,
they're not there.
Maybe with all this voting stuff, they'll find out that they did in fact cheat. Maybe Elon tells the truth and says, yeah, I changed Starlink and did this and that for him. Because he announced to everybody, if it wasn't for Elon, I wouldn't have won.
Well, there's one of the nonprofits that I heard on a comedian's podcast. The comedian heard him on another one and was amazed at what he heard and got the guy to come on, is electiontruthalliance.org. They're a nonprofit, and they're like forensic computer experts. Wow. And so they can go in and pull out information And he's got a YouTube channel as well where they're starting to release. I'll send you the link where they're starting to release what they're getting. But it is, once you start looking at the information they've gathered and the graphs and how they graph it and how they've managed to replicate what was done, it's like, oh my goodness. That election was so rigged. See, they tried to do it in 2020.
Right.
And they couldn't succeed because of COVID, because the majority of people mailed in their ballot.
Okay.
And so that was the predominant way people voted back then in 2020.
Right.
And so what they were trying to do, there weren't enough day of election voting going on for them to do what they did.
Manipulate it, yeah.
Something to do with the algorithms, and once you get to a certain percentage, it starts flipping votes. And so it's like once Harris got to a certain percentage in votes she was getting, the algorithm kicked in and it started flipping every vote for her to him.
Oh my God.
And they've replicated it. They've shown how it's done. And there's a handful of other nonprofits that are doing the same thing around the country. And so now they're starting to have like group meetings. Well, we found this. Well, we found that. Well, oh yeah, we can back that up. I mean,
and can they help in 2020?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that they have enough information that they can be able to go in and prevent it, because a lot of it happened not with the voting machines, but with the tabulators, the tabulating machines, the ones that you feed the handwritten votes into. You know, they have the voting machines and then they have the tabulators.
We were all like, wait a second, her meetings, her things are packed. People packed outside, and he had to pay people to come in.
He was paying people to show up. Yeah. I mean,
there was something wrong with that picture.
And I remember that night as we watched state after state get called, and we were all sitting there going, this is impossible. How could this happen? This is not. I was on with Mel and Arthur. These are driving me crazy. I'm not used to having bangs again. They're making me nuts. But it was me and Mel and Arthur and somebody else did a live stream that night as the voting was going on.
Oh.
And it was like, okay, something is wrong. I mean, and of course we were all really upset because people were in the chat cussing us out. Well, you said da 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 da. We're like, that's what we were told. That's what we were shown. We told you.
We all were told that. And I remember quietly telling my guides why.
Yeah.
And they said, Linda, man has free will. So this was supposed to happen for some reason. But they said his people need to see who he really is. And that's what he's doing now. Yeah.
Yeah. Because now that we've gotten 5, 6, 7 months down the road, and just seeing what's happening and how people are turning, it's like, had it not been manipulated, of course, she would have walked away with it.
For sure.
Hands down. But at the same time, I can look back now and see that there would have been massive uprisings. It's not exactly what I saw, but I don't want to really say it because I don't want YouTube to throw me in jail again. But people would have gotten violent, I think, on his side, convinced that.
And can you believe all those Venezuelans and everybody, everybody dancing for Trump? And
I'm surrounded down here.
And he's all out of the country.
I mean, we've got a MAGA governor, a MAGA House, a MAGA Senate, state and federal. It's like you can't breathe down here without. And for so long, the Democrats were like, yeah, I'm a Democrat. They would kind of like, it was a secret, don't tell. Yeah. And they just, I know when the governor's race happened last year, they just didn't get out and push the guy that had won the primary to run for governor until like the last minute, like 2 days before election. It's like, yeah, you're not going to win an
Was it
election.
a fair and free election, or do you think?
I think so. I've not heard any rumors that they played with the results, but again, the man that won and became governor comes from a long family name here in Louisiana. They've been down here for centuries, I'm sure,
Yeah.
the Landry clan, and they're all over the place. And he was attorney general at one time, and I mean, he has made a name for himself on the far right side, and
Yeah.
he was one of the first attorney generals that signed on for the Stop the Steal nonsense when Trump lost in 2020. And so it's like, did you really believe that, or were you just part of the scam? It's like, now I don't know if I can. The
Right.
first thing he did when he became our governor, the first thing he did was he killed the school lunch program for kids K through 12.
Because nothing's
That
worse.
was completely paid for by the federal government, 100%. But that was a bridge too far.
Children. Yeah, nothing's
Yeah.
more egregious than feeding children.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like.
But can I ask you what the conversation is in your state, or do you even hear? Are people like joyful that they're in office, or are they starting to?
Not really. I mean, I guess it depends on what part of the state you're in. I mean, my city is pretty conservative, but we're also a university city. So we have a lot of mix of different people from all around the world that are here. We have a lot of the really big festivals here in our city. And so it's probably more middle of the road. You get the conversation of, well, I voted Republican because my daddy voted Republican, my granddaddy voted Republican, my great granddaddy voted Republican. It's like, and if everybody jumps off the bridge, are you going to jump too? I mean, reminds me of what my grandma used to say.
Are in office.
Exactly. So, I think a lot of people just, I think a lot of people don't really pay that close attention down here.
Yeah.
Except for maybe a small kind of elite group. And most people just, well, if my family voted Republican, he's Republican, so that's who I'm voting for. And it's like, do you agree? I mean, and then if you talk to them, get them to talk about policies and what that person stands for, they're like, oh, no, I don't agree with that. Well, why are you voting for him then? That's what they're pushing, so. But because I work for the state, technically I'm civil service. I have to be careful how I talk about it, like at work or something.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If somebody asks me, like, where do you stand on this issue? And I'll just look at them and say, do you want the politically correct answer for this area, or do you want me to tell you the truth, of how I really feel? And some of them are like, no, tell me the truth, and I'll tell them. But most of them are just like, never mind, because they know, I'm not agreeing with that. And I think most of them know down where I work at anyway that I'm like the lone liberal.
Yeah,
I think my boss is too, because every now and again he'll come make a comment to me about, did you see what that idiot did? Like, yeah, I saw. So,
Yeah.
But we have a lot of foreign students, a lot of foreign faculty. So, they have to be careful because you don't want people to get sent home.
I know.
Just because
I
they're.
talked to a girlfriend last night. She's down in Los Angeles, and she knows a lot of people. And she said her housekeeper is American, but they know a lot of people who aren't. And these people are so afraid they just don't leave their house.
Yeah.
They're afraid to go back to their own country because they're afraid they'll take them and send them to Guantanamo or something, Just awful.
Okay. Hey, we're coming in and out and slamming the door. That's why I muted real quick. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I when you can get people to talk about a particular policy, then they're like, this is ridiculous. What are they doing? This is crazy. They don't need to be doing this. It's like, that's what you voted for. But they don't want to hear that, you know. I know there have been whispers and rumors about the speaker
Yes.
from folks down here that
Down there
something's
they're
not
talking
on
about
the up and up about him. Nate and I did a deep dive on him a couple months back. We get together twice a month, once on my channel for a live stream, and then once on his channel, and we'll do a pre-recorded deep dive on one or two topics. And we did one on Mike Johnson, and it took us places we were not expecting to go, that had to deal with like trafficking and children and women, and just
no, that's terrible.
some really deep and scary stuff for entertainment purposes only. YouTube. We, you know, because we started out like a lark, we were making fun of it, you know, like, oh yeah, let's see what we're gonna get, you know, because we didn't expect to really get anything. And then we started getting some really dark cards and results for what we were asking, and it was like, holy moly. And then last month we did a deep dive, and Nate said, well, let's see if we can get inside Donald's head and see what he's thinking. And I said, okay, let's give that a shot. And I tried, and it worked. Like remote viewing, it's only happened to me like once or twice.
Yeah.
I don't have any control over it yet, but it was like falling down a well. And I was in, and I told Nathan, I said, don't ever do that to me again. I said, oh my God, I didn't think I could get out. He knows what he's doing to a certain degree. The man is not stupid, not in that sense. But at the same time, there is something wrong up here. It's really squirrely. Yeah, very much so. And I watch him, you know, my mother died from dementia. We took care of her for the last 10 years of her life. And I watch him, and I see all the stages that she went through. It's like, oh,
they get very angry. That's one thing that's very common. They get very angry.
And violent. They get angry and violent. That's part of, because like my mother had cerebral atrophy. Her brain was literally shriveling up inside of her skull. And as different centers of the brain would shrivel, it would cut off that knowledge or that emotion. Or, I mean, she went through a phase where very paranoid, everybody was out to get her. She was constantly hiding things or carting stuff off to the neighbors to hold for her so it would be safe, you know, crazy crap like that. And then she went through a phase where she was very violent and threatening, and to the point that the manager had to come and tell us that she was threatening other neighbors. She was walking around with a big stick threatening people who weren't even talking to her, had nothing to do with her. She would just like come around the corner and see them and just freak out on them. And so that lasted about 6 or 7 months. And then that kind of went away, and it got replaced with other things. But I watch him, and I see all the signs that my mom went through. And but it's scary. And when I accidentally dove down the well of Donald's brain, I laughed. I said, I feel like I need to shower 100 times just to get clean again. It's just, his brain is squirrely. I mean, it's like there's some serious stuff wrong with his brain, you know?
Very perverted, man.
Yeah. I mean, just the way, and the anger, the amount of anger he feels towards everybody else. Because even those he supposedly trusts, he looks at them and thinks they're out to get me.
You don't trust anybody.
He doesn't trust a soul. And it was really, really scary.
He doesn't like his own sons.
Oh, he trusts his kids less than anybody else.
Yeah.
because they're just out for his money as far as he's concerned, you know.
But he finds them shameful. Maybe Baron he likes better, but he finds Eric and Dawn shameful.
Yeah. Baron gives me the willies. That
Ooh, there's
kid's
something weird with him. Satan's spawn. So what's another question?
that's what I was just looking at here. Let's see, we talked about the election, we talked about ICE. Okay, a lot of people here are asking about Social Security. Will Social Security be safe? Will they manage to take it
It'll be
away?
safe.
Will Medicare be safe? Will Medicaid be safe?
Not Medicaid.
Yeah, I know. We're holding our breath. My son's on Medicaid for his PTSD.
I just
And,
see some stuff happening. These
and
people are awful people, but I see them putting a dent in Medicaid.
yeah,
But Social Security will hang in there. It's not until the new president comes in, a new administration, that they'll fix this up. They'll start charging the rich people.
yeah. If they remove the cap on what people pay into Social Security, there would be no issue with covering Social Security, and people could actually receive the cost of living expenses. I mean, my mom used to get $700 a month,
Yeah.
and out of that came her health care. Out of that came the supplement. Out of that came her medications. Out of that came taxes, because they tax you on it now. It's like, how do you tax taxes? Isn't that illegal? I mean, Social Security is your tax money, and then they're going to tax you on that tax. That's not
Well,
right.
she ended
I
up
mean,
with nothing.
by the time she got through paying off or letting, they took out their chunks of stuff, she was trying to live off a couple of $100 a month. It's like, who can live on that,
Yeah.
And that's why she had to live with us. I mean, or we moved in with her, however you want to look at it. And then of course the dementia set in and started getting bad, and we all moved in together to take care of her. But
Did you end up putting her in a facility?
we did the last 2 months she was alive. She had a massive seizure at home, and we had to call the ambulance. They took her to the hospital. They kept her for like a week for observation, and then the doctors told us she can't go home. She has to go into full-time 24-hour hospice care. You know, that her condition has now deteriorated to the point that she needs 24-hour medical attention.
Yeah.
And when she came out of that seizure, she couldn't talk anymore. She couldn't walk anymore. She could kind of grunt, and that was, and that was it. And so it was sad. And we went and spent as much time with her. I'm just glad she passed before COVID,
Yes.
because we didn't have to go through that with her not understanding why those strange people that come see me every week,
Yeah.
why aren't they coming? Because she
But
didn't
was
know
she
who we
under
were from
good care?
Adam.
Did she have a good care facility?
She did. They had an opening in one of the hospice facilities here, not in our city, but in a little town, a couple of towns over from us. And they were like rated one of the top ones of the state, and she got really good care there. So I was happy with the care that she got. And she lasted about 2 months, and then the hospice nurse called and said, it's going to happen any day. Come say your
Yeah.
goodbyes
She,
now. And
she had a
so,
major seizure, so that probably damaged her brain more.
yeah, what little bit, she couldn't talk anymore after that.
Yeah.
And she couldn't walk. She couldn't.
Did she
Well,
recognize
she
you?
hadn't been able. No, she hadn't recognized us in years. She would look me dead in the eye and say, "I want to see my daughter Sherry," and I'd be like, "I'm right here, Mom." No, my daughter Sherry. And I say, "Okay, I'll go get her." I'd leave the room, count to 10, and come back in. Yeah, Mom, what do you want? And then I was the right person.
Oh, wow.
But not until I went out and got me to come back in. So,
Amazing.
And it was just weird little things like that.
How old was she when she crossed?
She was in her mid 70s. I think she was 76,
Yeah.
75. She was born in 42 and she died in 2019. So
My grandma was born in Mississippi. Dirt poor. My grandfather died of stomach cancer at age 30 something. They had like 8 kids. There's a picture of her and my grandpa. And my great grandmother, my grandmother's mother, she had her long hair and she just had it in
she was 76 when she died. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
so,
all the kids were barefoot. And my great grandmother looked like she was 80 and she was 30.
Yeah. My grandmother died when she was 56, 57, where she had cancer. But still, I mean, when they realized that she had cancer, she didn't last a year. She spent the last year of her life being a guinea pig. This was back in the 70s at Galveston Teaching Hospital, where they put her on all these different testing programs for chemo and radiotherapy and all that stuff that nowadays, a lot of the stuff they tried on her are standard practice now.
Wow.
For cancer patients that, she signed up and said, yeah, I'm dying anyway. Go ahead. Maybe something will work. Will help somebody else. And that was her attitude about it. So we plugged her into the program and we were constantly driving to Galveston and back every other week or so for different testings and whatnot. But she passed away in 1979, the night before I started college.
Wow.
I missed the first week of college because of dealing with all the funeral stuff, and then I went a couple of months and then I just quit going to school. I just quit going. I didn't even drop out officially. I just quit going. And when I went back to college 15 years later to get my degree, they were like, well, you never withdrew from college back in 79. So I had to file all this paperwork with the university I went to in Texas to release me so I could go to the university in Louisiana. So
isn't that something?
Which is now where I work. So, it's what goes around comes around.
So do you got another question before I pass out?
Yeah, I know. I'm watching you. I want to make sure I don't
I'm really dragging for some reason.
Well, you've been busy today. George Clooney's film on the Ohio State wrestling scandal that involved Jim Jordan has just been released on HBO.
Yeah.
Will Jim Jordan resign over this?
No.
What's going to happen to him?
No, he doesn't care. Jim Jordan doesn't care.
Yeah.
He cares, but he doesn't care. But his whole team, including that Speaker Johnson, who's a pervert, they got his back. Oh, don't worry about it. It's no biggie. That's what they're telling him.
I got seeds of prosperity. He's going to figure out how to make money off of this, which is just like Jim Jordan.
Or he's telling people, they're just making money off me.
Yeah, in pursuit of control. Wow. So he's going to try to control the narrative on it. I don't think he'll be very successful at it.
They'll never get this to a court then. They're never going to get this to a court. Listen, this guy's going to do the walk of shame out of there. Mm-hmm. I don't know when he's up again, but I see him not getting back in office.
Yeah, because he already has a bad reputation in Congress now. He never does any
bills. When does Jim Jordan come up?
I got coerce and manipulate.
Yep. Let's see what it says.
In darkness outage.
His current term ends in 2027.
I knew it was coming up.
Not this next year, but the year after.
He's Ohio, right? Yeah, I think he's Ohio. No, but it may open a lot of people's eyes to just how corrupt a lot of them are.
I guess I'll watch that tonight. I have HBO.
I don't have it anymore. I used to have HBO, and then I just didn't renew it. I didn't ever watch it
What's the
that
name of
much.
it? Do you know?
I they do not
George
say.
Clooney's movie on Jim Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know what the name of it is.
Let's look at it.
Somebody's asking about the planes from China to Iran that don't have any transponders on them.
It's
I had
Surviving Ohio State. That's the name of it.
Okay.
Oh,
Surviving Ohio
Surviving
State. So
Ohio
y'all
State.
check it out. Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. This is the first I've heard of it.
I hadn't heard anything about planes from China to Iran, but do you see catastrophic earth changes next year?
Not catastrophic, but good sizable things happening. The volcanoes are already going off like I predicted for 2025. And there's a couple of good sized earthquakes, but
I've seen a couple of pretty bad hurricanes in the Gulf.
definitely coming.
And at
two
least one in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep getting a Cat 6. I know they came out with that new category, but nothing has gotten up there yet.
Well, we still got a long ways to go.
Yeah, hurricane season isn't over until November.
Hitting at?
I saw a Cat 6 in the Gulf because if depending on if it's a big storm or if it's really concentrated, will depend on how many states get affected by it. Okay. If it's like Harvey was just huge, and it took up like over half of the Gulf of Mexico, and it just sat on Houston and just kept dumping water. And that's why Houston flooded so bad. I mean, we flooded, and we were a state away, and we were flooding. I know. I mean, it was pretty bad because it was just really, really big, and it was just slow moving. It's like if they're kind of concentrated and strong and they kind of come in fast, they hit, and boom, they're on their way.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll keep carrying the damage in whatever path it's going in, but it's overdone with quickly. It's the larger, slower ones that worry me because sometimes they can just park themselves right on the edge of the Gulf there and land, and they'll just sit there and just churn up everything. It's wow. I remember we moved to Florida a couple of weeks before Hurricane Camille hit back in 1969, and that was a Cat 5. That was my first experience with a hurricane, was Cat 5, and it was scary. And we weren't even in the direct line of fire. I mean, we were in Florida, and it hit Mississippi. And same with Katrina. Katrina didn't hit New Orleans. Katrina hit Mississippi in the same place that Camille hit.
Wow.
It was the fact that New Orleans got hit with all those winds and rains, and the levees broke.
Yeah,
something they've been telling them for years, that if you don't do something, the levees are going to break one day, and that's going to be it for New Orleans.
Exactly what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, we've had a couple of bad hurricanes that kind of hit us in the general area here over the last 10 years that were pretty bad. I know my cousin had a tree land in the middle of his living room through the roof. That was during Trump's first run as president. It took until Biden got in for him to get the roof fixed.
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Because FEMA just wasn't there to do the trick. So I keep, every time I go in to look, I just keep seeing a really big storm moving slow, not fast, but slow, and just kind of.
You know who else I see getting plummeted, which they have been recently? Europe's been getting hit hard. I see Ireland and Scotland kind of underwater.
Yeah. Yes, I saw something on that. And of course, going against us, we no longer have the people in place or the departments to tell us when this stuff is coming and what to expect. We have to rely upon the European model,
I know.
which is on the other side of the world. It's like that's not
And
very
then
smart.
he says he's not going to help California with fire damage. You know, he's not.
Yeah,
That's because he can, because he's a partisan.
yeah.
These are decent
He's
people.
already done
They
that
pay
to
more taxes than anyone else, and you're going to say, "Oh no, well we're really no." I think it's a good idea for Governor Newsom to just hold back all the money they were going to pay the United States.
absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be hard on those of us in a red state because
Yeah,
we're not going to get the help, and
no,
there's
it's
going to be
terrible.
a lot of stuff coming. I feel like this summer. I don't feel good about it at all. I feel,
I don't feel good here. It's about fire. I didn't pick it up last year, but this year I'm sensing it. We're really windy for some reason.
we're gonna pray a hedge of protection around you, Linda. The flames can't get to you.
Oh, hold on. Here's breaking news. Judge blocks Trump's administrative effort to halt international student enrollment at Harvard.
Yeah, they were threatening to do that.
So he can't do it.
Mm-mm. That's
And
illegal.
that District 19th District Court that said Trump could go ahead and do the what you call the army could come in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With the National Guard.
That's not written in stone. That's until they have more information coming in.
Well, the first judge said it was illegal. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And so he said you have to return power back to the governor. And then it got appealed up to the next court, which paused that order.
Yes.
And it got appealed up to the next court, which paused the pause, but said, no, it has to go back to the president. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
But it's going to get appealed again. I think it's going to the Supreme Court.
It's going up to the Supreme Court, So
Oh, Jesus.
I guess it's going to depend on how Amy and
I think either Trump's going to die or before Christmas. He's not going to be around, not necessarily physically die.
I don't see him. I don't see him at Christmas. I don't see him at
all
Christmas.
this will be changed.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know Arthur keeps seeing him handcuffed to a gurney and being wheeled out of the White House. I mean, he's been saying that for almost a year now.
Well, and speaking of dementia, that's part of that would match.
Yeah, exactly. When he said the first time he said that, I was like, oh, I could see that happening very easily. But I just don't.
Look,
when I see Christmas coming, I don't see any of them there.
He's mad at all. He's trying to get people in. Hedgehog couldn't get any general. He fired all these people and they can't get anybody to work for him.
Yeah.
So this is good. This is good.
This is
But who's overlooking the ship? Who's helping with this military stuff while we're doing all this Iran stuff?
You know what worries me is that they've sent the USS Nimitz out there.
Yeah. And there's another
That's like our oldest aircraft carrier. It's due to be decommissioned after the first of the year. So it's getting ready to be torn down, turned into a museum or whatever it is that they do to those ships. But it's going to be decommissioned. It will no longer be an active duty ship. And something I picked up when a lot of this crap started happening in that area again, the first thing I saw was I had a vision of the Nimitz. I didn't even know it was heading that way. I found that out the next day. So I saw it before I knew it. And then I saw just in my mind's eye, I just saw the word sacrificial lamb.
So they could
like they're gonna make the Nimitz be the sacrificial lamb to start something by doing.
And then that way he can get over Putin, because Putin said, "Don't you dare!" But if our boys and girls get hurt, then we have a reason to fight back. So we'll see. I'm
Yeah.
so tired, girlfriend.
I know. I am too. And we've been at this for 54 minutes, Linda. Thank you for your
Sure.
time.
Thank you. No, I mean tired and drunk. Thank you,
That
girl.
too. Yes, I'm tired of that too. But I know you're physically tired right now.
I don't know
You've
why
been
I'm
going
having
at
a
it
hard
all day.
time past 2 o'clock in the afternoon keeping awake.
I do it all the
I
time.
do good in the morning until
I was sitting at my desk at work the other day and I was like sitting like this. I didn't have anything to do. And so I had YouTube on and I had the earbud in and I'm just listening. And evidently I fell asleep like this, sitting propped up on my desk. And one of my faculty came to the door. Hey, Sherry, da 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 da. And I didn't move. I didn't flinch. And he freaked out.
he
He
thought you
ran
were
over
dead.
and shook me. He thought I had he said, I thought you had died. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, I just fell asleep. He said, I was talking to you and you weren't moving. You weren't
Oh,
responding.
that's
You just,
something. Yeah.
and
You're
I'm
in a
like,
nice sleep.
I said, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I did that one time when I was meditating out on the patio. I was listening to one of Arthur's guided meditations, and I was like really in the zone. And my son came out and talking to me. And it took a few minutes before he realized I hadn't moved. I hadn't said a word. I hadn't acknowledged that he was out there. I didn't even know he was out there. And it freaked him out. He like grabbed me and shook me. Scared the living out of me. He was like, Mom, don't do that. You scared me.
Oh, God. Well, at least you didn't have your mouth open.
Yeah, no, thank God I wasn't drooling on myself.
Yeah,
That would have been really bad. But I was just propped up on my hand and just went right out, I said, I guess I was tired and I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I've done it on my show on Saturday night. I do, a late night show on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I have literally sat here and gone and just go right out. And then I'll come up and there'll be like 20 messages in the chat saying, Sherry, it's time to go to bed.
You passed out on the show?
Oh yeah, or I've fallen asleep. And they'll all tell me, Sherry, it's time to go to bed. Let's wrap it up. Let's go to bed.
On the telephone, but never on a show.
And then they come back the next week. I'm like, okay, I don't understand that, but they get a kick out of it now. Now I'll start getting messages at the beginning of the show. Did you get a nap today? Have you eaten today?
That's cool.
They spoiled me really bad. One of them bought me a portable generator for my birthday. A little solar powered portable generator, just enough to like keep the phones charged and maybe run a radio or something. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you bought me a generator.
So generous. Yeah.
And I was like, that is so cool. He was like, well, it was on your Amazon wish list. And I said, I forgot it was on there. It's been so long ago. I had to go back and see what else was on there. And then I got a tire inflator and several kind of off the wall stuff that were like at the very bottom of the list that I'd put on years ago and just forgot about because I tend to not go look. And
that's funny.
I'm like, well, I could use the generator. That's actually a good thing.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Especially if the power gets knocked out. At least we can charge the phones and keep up with the news. Well, Linda, thank you so much. It was great having you on. And next time I know I got a day off during the week, I'll give you a buzz.
Give me a buzz.
And we'll get back together again because I know our schedules.
Earlier, that's even better.
Yeah, that works for me. I mean, if I've got the day off, I'm whatever time works for you. So, and because I'm 2 hours after you, so
Yeah.
And all right, thank y'all for watching. We appreciate it. Bye for now.
Bye.